What if the very habits helping you succeed are also the ones that are slowly exhausting you? What if the constant hustle, nonstop availability, and pressure to always produce, what if they're not signs of healthy leadership, but what if they're warning signs? That's right, warning signs of something deeper inside you that's out of balance. I'm looking forward to talking about this and more in this upcoming podcast. Let's get started. Welcome to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast, where we explore the mindset, resilience, and intentional leadership practices that help leaders like you and me to thrive, not just survive. I'm your host, Adrienne Benson, and today's conversation addresses something that many high performing leaders like us, it addresses what we experience, but rarely talk about honestly. We're talking about the overwork cycle. And I'm super excited because today I have Dr. Melanie Gray with us, and we're talking about how leaders can break free from chronic overwork and how we can reconnect with our well being and build success that is both impactful and sustainable. Now, before we have this amazing conversation, I want to remind you of a few things, and that is this. Number one, listen, Transformation Station Leadership Podcast. This is where leaders like you and I grow from the inside out. We meet every single week. So, what that means is every week you can regularly join us. Matter of fact, invite two other leaders in your network to join us so that we can make a lasting impact in the communities and the organizations in which we serve. You can find Transformation Station Leadership Podcast on Buzzsprout and Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Amazon and more. So be sure to subscribe. One episode, not one episode do you want to miss. And I'm looking forward to you joining us regularly. Now, let me tell you about our guest today. Her name is Dr. Melanie Gray. She is a nationally recognized expert in trauma-informed leadership, burnout prevention, and workplace wellness. As the founder of Melanie Gray Solutions, she teaches leaders and women how to move forward from reaction to regulation using her signature stop it method to slow down, set boundaries, and lead well while living whole. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Melanie Gray to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast. It is wonderful to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so important. This
Yes,
conversation is so important.
absolutely. So, Dr. Gray, as I was preparing for this conversation, I was thinking to myself about leadership, right? And I was thinking this, many of us as leaders, we have become conditioned to believe that our value is tied to productivity. I have found over the years, Dr. Gray, that over time, it becomes more than responsibility. It actually starts to become identity, right? We start to believe that our value is based on what we do or what the system says we're supposed to be doing and how we were able to achieve that. So I want to start off by asking you this question. High performing leaders, that's who we're talking to today. But here's the question. Why do so many high performing leaders and professionals, why do we get stuck in the overwork cycle even when we know that it is unsustainable?
Well, a couple things. One, we don't know it's unsustainable
Mm,
because we have mothers, fathers, mentors, teachers, professors, people at church, people in our lives who kind of told us it was sustainable because they did it for
mhm,
30 or 40 years and
mm,
they got their house, two kids, and a picket fence and
mm,
retirement. And so it should work for you too. The
mm,
truth of the matter, though, is work has changed. And
mm.
in many of their careers, they didn't have enter it with email, internet, texting, the culture of continual contact and ability to reach you. My
Right.
parents went to work and came home. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't see any evidence of work in our home. That's different. That's changed over the
Mm-hmm.
last 20 or 30 years. So one, we haven't seen models of uh, it not working. The other
Mm-hmm.
thing is we start so early, right? Think about it. How old were you when someone first asked you what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Oh, I was very
We
young.
I was probably 3 or 4, right?
Right.
And you get the nurse's kit. I did. The doctor's kit, the science kit. And
Mm-hmm.
people are asking you at 2 or 3, what are you gonna be? What are you gonna do? So we're
Right.
programmed really early to think I need to be something. I need to have a title.
Mm.
And we have had role models that feel like if they don't to do what they did, then they're not being
Right.
just to us. And we all drank the juice, but it's a different juice right now. The world
Mm.
is changing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. So, when you were talking about this just now, it reminded me of this leadership principle here. And so all of our leaders that are listening and watching, we want to remind you that your worth is not measured by your workload. Dr. Gray talked to us about how back in the day, they didn't have all of these technology that makes things so convenient to still stay attached to work. And so they were able to come home. Work was work and home was home. And nowadays we have many distractions. So we want to remind you even now that your worth, who you are, is not measured by your workload. So create intentional recovery rhythms before burnout forces itself on you. Dr. Gray, what does it mean? What does it really mean to value yourself as much as your work? And why do so many of us struggle with even that part?
Well, number one, we were told so early that our value came from our work. Look at the years that have been invested in getting good grades in school,
Mm,
getting those ACT scores and SAT scores to get into good colleges. And then you're in college and that's all you talk about is when I'm a sophomore, when I'm going to graduate, what am I going to do? Are you going to have an internship? Am I not going to have an internship? Is my life not going to be right if I don't get the right internship? Who
mm.
am I going to, it just, it's
All the above.
all the things. And then
Mhm,
we graduate and we look for that great aha moment, right? I'm in an
mm,
entry level position. How long is it going to take me to get up? Do I
mm.
move up? Am I going to have to get a master's degree? Am I going to have to get a DMP, doctorate, PhD? What else? All the things, right?
Right, right.
And so we never pause. When in that life cycle do we teach people to pause?
Mm,
When teenagers pause, the parents get anxious.
mhm,
My son doesn't know what they want to do. Melanie,
mhm,
I have parents talk to me all the time. Melanie, can you talk to my daughter? She doesn't
mhm,
know what she wants to do. Well,
mm.
she's 13. She's
Right,
13.
right, right.
Or, yeah, she's a senior. There's many more things to do. Maybe she doesn't.
Mhm, mhm,
And honestly, some of the things our kids are going to do, workers are going to do, don't even exist yet with the
mhm,
rapid pace of AI.
mhm,
And look, and there's the fear factor.
mhm.
If you looked at the recent media with graduation moments, students are booing the speakers that are talking about AI. Why?
Mercy.
Because there's now fear. So we had fear, and fear was always, I think, part of the cycle we just discussed. Because, woo, if I don't do all these things, then I'm going to be sunk. I'm
Mhm,
nothing. And
mhm,
so it's there's been a long term investiture in anxiety and effort around the title, the work, and we can't let go because we're afraid if we let go, what will I say? What will people think? How will I support my family? What do
mhm,
I, what, how do I pivot? There are a lot of questions that have to be answered when you had a lifetime of
mhm,
working toward one value system.
So we've been conditioned, if I hear you correctly, we have
Totally,
been conditioned to
totally conditioned.
prioritize achieving and performance and what the community values over our personal health and well-being.
But
Mercy.
think about it. You have to think about trauma, and integrate some thought around trauma informed care because trauma is trauma transcends 3 generations.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take me, for example. My parents grew up, were born in 1927 and 1935. So they came up through Jim Crow, segregation, abusive treatments of African Americans. Their hope for me was that I'd have a better life. So they told me to drink all the juice. And their dream was that they could give me a life in which I could, right? Because they were afraid, and they kind of instilled some fear in me that if you don't do certain things, your life is not going to be credible. And there are other people that might have trauma come up, and I didn't come up through poverty, but I had that cultural sense of being an African American. There are people
Mm-hmm.
who have come up through poverty, have to work their way through. When they rise and get to a point where life is different from that for them, they might be afraid to let go. So there's fear there too.
Mm-hmm. So then what are some of the subtle signs that overwork has become a pattern rather than a temporary season? I know many leaders struggle with recognizing or paying attention to the signs. So what are some of the subtle signs?
Well, the signs of burnout or stress can be both physiological and
Hmm.
psychological.
Okay.
The physiological signs might be headaches, not
Hmm.
sleeping well, weight gain because your cortisol levels are always at a high level,
Hmm.
stomach aches, constipation, uh, you're catching a lot of colds when you're stressed. Your
Hmm.
immune system decreases. And then there are the psychological kind of behavioral symptoms. You're over vigilant, you
Hmm.
micromanage,
Hmm.
you respond without thinking, you
Hmm.
don't engage other members of your team. You kind of feel like if you don't do it, it can't get done. Well,
Hmm.
no one could, that's unsustainable. And that's why it negates why organizations give you a team or have a team or why you're part of a team.
Right.
But we
Right.
have to learn to be part of one.
Mhm.
When you find yourself looking at your email and
Mhm.
checking all weekend long and after work, when you cannot set boundaries, when you cannot turn off, even
Mhm.
when you've left that work environment, those are signs that
Mhm.
you're not healthy because we're whole people.
Mhm.
We're
Mhm.
whole people. We have to celebrate. But no, people don't celebrate you on social media for being old now. They
No.
celebrate you, how hard you working, how burned out you are, how they
Yeah.
celebrate all the things of activity. And
Mhm.
one, activity does not define success.
Say that again. Mhm.
Busyness does not define success or
Mhm.
value. So
Mhm.
people have to be willing to be courageous and set their own definition,
Mhm.
a new trajectory for their future.
Mhm. All right, leaders, you're listening, you're watching. I know that Dr. Gray just stepped all over your toes. So I want you to say ouch right now. Go ahead and say ouch. She talked to all of us and described many of the subtle signs that are not so subtle, actually, that we are all journeying through. And, Dr. Gray, for me, one of the subtle signs that I try to stay aware of is when exhaustion starts to feel normal. When I hear myself saying, I'm so tired, I'm so tired, I'm so tired. But it's like I'm saying it as though this is an acceptable way of like, I'm so tired. I'm not gonna do anything about it. I'm just gonna stay tired because this is the way it's supposed to be. That for me is one of the subtle signs that wait a minute, we've got to stop and bring balance back, right? When I start to see that my emotional capacity is decreasing,
Mhm.
I'm moody, right? I'm speaking sharp, or my thoughts are tending to be negative, negative, negative. Wait a minute. All right, we got to stop right here. We got to pause that we need to renew, refresh, revive,
Mhm.
restart. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you've said that we normalize exhaustion as a badge of honor. How do we begin to stop glorifying burnout?
Well, you have to be able to redefine who you are.
Mm.
And if you say, this is not how I want to live.
Mhm.
You work to live, in my opinion, my humble opinion. You don't live to work.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to decide what is the legacy that you are really trying to leave or impact you really want to make in the world. And is the life I'm living allowing me to have relationships with my mom, my parents, my siblings, my kids? Am I building the relationship with my significant other that I want? As do I feel like I want to feel? Am I getting to do the dreams I have on my list? I want to learn to play the piano. Am I taking care of myself, giving myself real capacity and being intentional? Because you have to be intentional to take about your self-care. You have
Yes.
to be intentional about valuing who you really are. You didn't get to where you are because you were unintentional. Leaders, you were specific
Specific, strategic.
and
That,
strategic,
you
and you have to
focus.
continue to be.
Yeah. We stop glorifying burnout by changing what we celebrate. That's what I hear you saying.
Changing what you celebrate and understanding that
Mhm.
there is life after work and
Yeah.
after your career, right? We
Yeah.
work really hard the first 20 years to get to be able to do things we think we want to do for the next 30. But
Mm.
remember, people are living longer. So at
Mhm.
50, 55, even 60, when you're thinking, maybe I want to not be in my career full time, what do
Mhm.
you want said? What are you going to do for the next 20 or 30?
Mhm. Mhm.
And the reality is the very sad, and it's the very sad reality is once you leave your organization, you are forgotten within 60 days.
Is it even 60, Dr. Gray?
Girl,
I mean,
I'm trying to be kind, okay?
I've
I'm
seen so
trying.
many times where like somebody leaves and maybe like the first week, 2 weeks, people they miss the routine of how that person fit into the culture. Week 3, oh man, week 4 is like, and then like
And
literally
then
like
we
2 or 3
find who
months
was that? Who
oh,
was who used to do
like,
that?
man, and then they start talking about you like you were around 10 years ago as opposed to a month,
A
like
month, right? And
we
then
learn to move
you do
forward.
all this work, and you think your children and your family value it, and they don't even know what you did. I've gone to homegoing services and meet the family. I said, "Oh, I loved working with your mother. They did so." They said, "What she do?
Mm,
Nobody knows. Nobody remembers." So
mercy.
you're in a sense. I mean, unless everyone's not going to get to be Bill Gates and maybe leave these big mansions, big legacies, big philanthropic programs, but you can make a difference in the world, and you
Mhm.
can make an impact, right? But you have to define what that is, and you have to give yourself the time to do it. And hey,
Mm,
what's wrong with just sitting down and enjoying a book and a
mm,
glass of wine? Because that's
mm,
what you like to do.
mm. So here in Transformation Station, we always give our listeners and viewers a moment during the podcast to just stop and really understand what's resonating with them and take a moment to assess. And Dr. Gray just asked us a really good question. Like, and actually, I'm going to reframe it and just ask it this way: like, when was the last time that you just stopped? That you just stopped and paused and gave yourself an opportunity to just be. Not be
Mhm.
responsible, not run here, but just sit down, whether it's with a book, whether it's just sitting by the beach or what just being quiet and just being present for yourself in your own life. Dr. Gray, I have found as a leader myself that we normalize what the culture is in our workplace,
Mhm.
our teams, and they follow what we model.
They do.
And so leaders, we want to invite you, like you are the ones that have to create healthy work habits openly within your organization so that the culture can become healthy. And on that note, I want to ask you this question: what systems, what boundaries, or even what mindset shifts are most effective, Dr. Gray, in breaking the overwork cycle without sacrificing the impact or the excellence?
Well, when you come to work, you come to do your best, right?
Correct.
Do it for the time that you are assigned to do it. 8 to
Mm,
4, 8 to 4:30. If you're
Mhm.
finding that, or five, whatever it is, if you find that you're not able to complete your work with
Mhm.
excellence in that time frame, honestly tell your leader. There has to be a conversation,
Mhm.
because we don't work in a vacuum, right?
Mhm.
And then organizations have to encourage people to work in teams.
Mhm.
They can do things for their team members. Why do you have to have meetings after 12 o'clock on Friday?
I
Why
see.
not let people clean their desk?
Mhm.
Why do you have to start Monday morning 8 o'clock with a big meeting? Why
Mhm.
can't you give people a chance to transition into their day, get a
Mhm.
feeling for what they need to prioritize for the week?
Mhm.
Why are you sending emails to your team at 10 o'clock? You
Good
could
night.
sir, you could schedule it and let that same email release in the morning. Because when we
Mhm.
don't, those subtle things do create messages about work, and then an expectation that that's what people need to do.
Mhm. So sometimes the quieter times for me are late at night or early in the morning. And sometimes that's when I can get work done. But I begin to realize the impact that was happening when I started sending emails at this late night. And it was good for me, but not good for others. And so what I did was I now have a line in my signature block that says, I sometimes will do work late at night or early in the morning. If you receive an email from me after working hours, please respond during the next business day
Yeah, or
because
just
I want
schedule
to
it. You
have
can
this.
schedule it to go out, because they're not gonna read it. Just schedule. If you wrote it, just schedule it for tomorrow,
Mhm.
for
Yeah,
the time that you want it.
yeah, absolutely. So let's turn the corner just a little bit. We do have two more questions, but this one I'm hearing a lot of conversation in leadership groups that are talking about the nervous system. And they're talking about how the nervous system is impacted as we are making decisions and choosing, how we are leading. So I want to ask you this question, Dr. Gray. What role does the nervous system play in burnout and recovery? And how can we reset it daily?
Well, in brief, when your nervous system fires, and it it fires because of stress,
Mhm.
you're reacting, and you never stop. It never pauses. So
Mhm.
then you set off a reaction in your nervous system, and then it just goes on and on. It never Burnout is not turning off. So you're um it never turns off. And so that constant burning, the activation of your nervous system, the stress centers, never turns off. And so that leads to ongoing potential life changing health problems. I
Mm,
wanted to Stress is not, we're talking about your job. This is, but we're not in your stress, but it's not just about the moment that you're experiencing. It's
mhm.
about the impact. It's
Yes.
about the fact that stress leads to hypertension.
Yes.
Stress can lead to having strokes, a
Mhm.
greater risk for strokes, for heart attacks,
Mm.
for overweight, for even they're saying some cancers. If
Mm.
you have hypertension, you're then at risk for renal problems, being on dialysis. As your weight gains and you get increased weight in your midsection, in your midlife, you're
Mm.
more at risk for type 2 diabetes. If
Mm.
you're a diabetic, then you're going to have trouble with weight loss. You're going to have stress on your kidneys. You're
Mm.
going to we call create challenges with your vision. You're
Mm.
going to create problems potentially in your vascular system, which then puts you at more risk for more problems. So we're
Mhm.
not just talking about the nervous system being on. It is and the issue of it being on. We also
Mhm.
want to frame how uh, the long-term impact on your whole life and well-being.
I love that because that's something that we really don't think about. A lot of times we think about the right now, but we don't think about the long term. I have a couple of instances, unfortunately, of having coworkers that spent years overworking, like working themselves into the ground. They retired And I know two that retired, and within about 2 to 3 months of retiring, they had a heart attack, they had a stroke. Like all these things, it's almost like that book, The Body Keeps the Score. It's
It
almost like
does.
the body said,
It
"Oh, wait a minute,
does.
finally
It
stopped.
does.
All right, let's go. Come on now." And all of these health issues all of a sudden started to develop, but it's because of the years
Yeah, it
of
wasn't all of us. It was progressive.
yes, yeah,
And that's why organizations need more than, offering a salad bar for lunch and yoga. You
mm,
have to create a culture where people are not stressed, where they're valued, teaching them how to take care of themselves.
yes, absolutely. So, what are your top strategies for setting healthy boundaries without guilt, especially for caregivers, especially for women leaders? What are your top strategies for setting healthy boundaries without guilt?
Well, first say no unapologetically. And then
Mhm,
I have a framework, the stop it method. One, you got to scan your body, scan your life. How do I feel? How do I look? Am I happy with my neck aches, my constipation, my bloating? And
mm,
then tell yourself the truth. This is not working. I
mercy.
need to do something different. And then, oh, you have to own the fact that you need to change. You
Mm,
have to own your no. You have to be true to yourself about your bad behaviors that
mm,
cause you to say yes all the time. That
mhm,
you are enabling people who just come to you because it's easy. We
mm.
have to sometimes also move people out of our lives. There are people who have capacity in our lives that don't deserve it.
Yes.
And then
Mhm,
we have to prioritize ourselves, put ourselves on our calendar, be
mhm,
intentional about that walk, be committed. You know how to commit, you know how to follow through. You're a leader, do it for you.
mhm,
And don't be afraid of the past. And the other thing about prioritizing yourself is that sometimes you have to, the job you're in is not the job you need to stay in if you're going to be able
mhm.
to prioritize because your lives change,
Yes.
right? Your
Yes.
needs change. And what I needed at 30 or 40 might be different as I move forward.
Mhm,
Sometimes you have to maybe say, I need to step down. I want to stay with the organization, but I need to step down into a role that maybe doesn't require as much of me. And so
mm,
you have to sometimes set your life to do that, maybe,
mhm,
set your bills, do whatever you need to do. But you might need to make some pivots and prioritize yourself. And then
mhm,
you have to be intentional again in doing that.
mhm,
Because the behaviors that we're in, it takes 90 days to change your behavior. My people mindset is not just changing your mindset, it's making a decision to change your life.
mm,
Breathing, breath work is great in the moment, but breath work in the long term is not going to help your long term health if
mhm,
you're not intentionally taking action. If you need to see a therapist, if you need to see a physician, if you need to get a personal trainer, be intentional. And then
yes.
you have to be willing to transform. You have to be willing to change because
Mhm,
we have to admit that sometimes there's secondary gains from being the it, right?
mhm,
Oh, you like it that everybody say, "Oh, girl, you always get it done." Oh, we can always count on you. Oh, you are go-to person. I mean,
mhm,
if that means more to you than your life, your family, you
mhm.
have to make that decision.
Yes, yes. I love it. The stop it method. And we're going to talk in a little bit about how people can engage with you to learn more about it. But as we turn the corner on this conversation, we have listeners that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt and viewers that are saying, okay, I resonate with what Dr. Gray is putting down, and she is absolutely correct. I'm learning something today. If you could, if listeners could take one step today to move forward, to calm the chaos in their lives and to create a life that feels like them again, what would you recommend that they do?
I recommend that they schedule some paid time off, their vacation time. Take a half day, a full Friday, schedule
Mm,
it today. Take a long weekend, put it on your calendar today, and take some time away to really relax. Because it takes 3 to 4 days to relax. You don't really relax the first day.
true.
Give yourself 3 or 4 days off away. Listen to your body, sense how you feel, and write a list of what's important to you and what you're willing to give up.
Mm,
Because the truth is, in stopping it, the bad, the things you don't want to do. You have to do some new things, and it
Ye-
means you have to give up something. The
Yes.
Generally you do. The idea of having it all, you have to decide what your all is. Your
Yes.
all is not what everybody say on Facebook or
Yes.
LinkedIn or whatever social media platform you're looking at every day.
Yes.
The all is what works for you.
Hmm. I love it.
And so you have to be intentional, make the time, take the time off right now, put it on your calendar, and don't let it move.
I love it. What is resonating with you in this conversation? I know that there are many gems that you have been able to pull from what Dr. Gray shared with us today. And I want to invite you right now to go ahead and put it in the chat. We want to hear from you. Dr. Gray, this has been such a value added conversation for our leadership community. I know that there are listeners and viewers that want to engage with you. So please talk to us a little bit about your resources and how we can best do that.
Yes, you can reach out to me at drmelaniegray.com and also Dr. Melanie Gray, the Confidence Coach. I work with organizations. I help them create cultures of wellness. I also work with individuals who want help to overcome burnout as a burnout coach. I help them set new priorities, walk through with someone with courage to change, because
Mhm.
it takes courage to change, and you
Absolutely.
aren't courageous. We aren't always able to do that alone because we're made to live in community.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, viewers and listeners. You see, the link is here on the screen. Dr. Gray's other social media links are in the description box. I invite you to click on the links. And a matter of fact, I need you to reach out to Dr. Gray and let her know that you heard this episode. Share with her what resonated with you. And also, if you have any questions, she is a guru and expert. I need you to reach out because the community that learns together grows together. Dr. Gray, it has been wonderful having you here on Transformation Station. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It has been awesome.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. Listen, today's conversation with Dr. Gray reminded us that leadership should not require self destruction. No, the strongest leaders are not the ones who carry everything endlessly, but we are the ones who lead with wisdom and boundaries and intentional, you hear that word that Dr. Gray used today, intentional care for ourselves as we care for others. We want to thank Dr. Gray for helping us to rethink what healthy, sustainable leadership truly looks like. Now, I know that this episode resonated with you, so I invite you to be sure to subscribe to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast. And as a matter of fact, today you need to go ahead and share this particular episode with at least two, you heard me say, two leaders in your network that you know right now they need permission to pause, reset, and reclaim balance. So until next time, stay grounded, stay healthy, and keep leading forward with clarity and with purpose.